Hi, hopefully I am in frame or in focus. I know I'm in frame, I can see it. But welcome to my channel if you're new, or welcome back. I am back in my booktube phase of life right now because it is dark and it is cold, and today it was windy as all get out, and I am out of breath right now because this was actually, I'm like sitting backwards on my couch. It's weird, but I really wanted this shot with the Christmas tree in the background because today it is currently the evening of, I was going to say February, Friday, December 23rd. And I'm gonna do a little weekend readathon. I also just got out of the shower. I just got back from the library. I'm going to show you some library books that I picked up, not just for this weekend, but for January. We'll see what I get to. And yeah, my husband is working tonight, tomorrow night, and the night after. Yes, that does include Christmas Eve and Christmas, but it is a-okay. It is what it is. So I'm going to take my time and read. Hopefully as much as I can tonight, pretty much all day and tomorrow night, and then Sunday night. And I have Monday off, and so does he, but he'll probably be sleeping for most of the day, as he should. So I'm going to spend most of my Monday reading. So my first priority for this weekend is to finish Little Women. I have just over 110 pages left, so I'm gonna try and knock out a bunch of that tonight and hopefully completely finish it tomorrow. And then another book that I am currently about a third of the way through. I take off the jacket sometimes because it's just easier and I don't feel like I'm gonna rip it, and yeah, I don't want to mess it up. So like while I'm reading a book, I'll usually take off the jacket. But anyway, this is Hester by Lori Lico Albanese. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but anyway, it's a historical fiction that I got for the October Book of the Month Club. I'm not a current subscriber to Book of the Month, but I was last year. So I put this book down a couple weeks ago, or maybe just a week ago, when I picked up Little Women, because it was going really slow. It's like beautifully written and it's really fun. There's like a magical element with being able to see words and letters as colors and like seeing people as colors. What's the thing called? Yeah, synesthesia. So the main character has this and it's seen as like a witchcraft trait. And this is back in the old 1700s, early 1800s. I think early 18, nope. Yep, early 1800s. And she is in a town in, can't remember where, but this is a great synopsis. But she runs into and has like this little flirty thing with Nathaniel Hawthorne. Yes, that Nathaniel Hawthorne who wrote The Scarlet Letter. And apparently like she is supposed to be the inspiration for the book. I don't know how true that is to like real life, but it's really fun and it makes me want to learn how to embroider. I lied, it's not really fun, it's enjoyable. I made it, did I make it 100? Yeah, I made it over 100 pages in, but just... Also, she comes from a line of like witches who they tried to burn, but like couldn't. Anyway, so another book that I am currently reading that I'm going to mix in a little bit here and there is Atomic Habits. I've read the first few chapters of it, but I haven't gotten that far into it yet, and of course I want to finish it before the new year for obvious reasons, so I'll just sprinkle in a chapter or two here and there throughout the weekend so that I can get some more done on that and get working on my Atomic Habits. Okay, so looking at what I got from the library, I got 4 books. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but most likely I can't finish all 7 of these books in 4 days because I'm not that focused of a reader and I will get tired. So I'll just go through these. So the first one is I Who Have Never Known Men. I could probably finish this one. I might prioritize this one just because it's tiny. Or I might save it for January, because these aren't due back until January 13th. The only thing that I know about this is it's about some women who have never seen men before. They've spent however much of their life in a bunker, and I heard it was fantastic from people on BookTube. So there you go. This is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab, and it is the sequel to This Savage Song. Let me put this out here. I do not like YA. I especially don't really like YA fantasy. There are a few exceptions. This Savage Song is one of those exceptions. It was so good, made my heart so happy. It was just, oh, it's beautifully written, and I needed more of the world. I actually bought This Savage Song brand new when it came out, but I didn't read it until a month or so ago. So my library, I was able to get Our Dark Duet put on hold and transferred to my local library site. So I grabbed this one. I didn't realize how chunky it was. I don't even think that I'll pick this up this weekend, but library haul. So I'll probably save that for January. So 2 of the books that I wasn't originally planning on picking up, but I was kind of like looking through some of their newer books, and I hadn't heard of these, but they were very interesting. So I read like the first chapter or section of each of these books while I was there, just to like determine, yes, I am at least a little bit interested. So since I've already started these, I'll probably prioritize them over the other 2, just to kind of like keep the momentum going. But the first one I'll talk about is called The Sleepless by Victor Manibo. I hope I said that right. Probably not, because I said it in 2 different ways. So at least one of them was wrong, and I apologize. But so this is actually a sci-fi, which I don't read a lot of, but every time I've sat down and made myself read sci-fi, I've enjoyed it. So I need to read more of it. But basically the main thing of this is that there was some huge catastrophic event that caused, like, I guess half the world to stop needing to sleep. So like it's this pandemic of people who just no longer sleep, and it doesn't affect their health. But there's of course people who hate the sleepless, and people who, you know, are envious of them. And then you've got the sleepless who probably spend their free time now doing things that they shouldn't. You have people who are the sleepless who are taking on extra jobs, like they don't need to sleep, so you might as well make more money. So it's just a really interesting premise. I read the first it's kind of done in like diary sections. So I read the first section. It's not that gripping, but it is kind of interesting. And again, when I actually make myself read sci-fi, I always enjoy it. So I haven't heard anyone talk about this. If it's good enough, I'll do like a full review. The other one that I got that I haven't heard anyone talk about, Just Like the Other Girls by Claire Douglas. So this is more of a thriller, and from what I get, this young woman, she's like 22, her mom just died a few months ago, and she needs to get a new job because her job sucks. And she ends up becoming a caretaker for an elderly lady. But the elderly lady's daughter is there, and she's like in her 40s, and she's really, really cold and rude to our main character, Una, who is just like trying to live her life, trying to make things right, missing the hell out of her mom. And it seems as though there have been other girls who worked for this elderly lady who was a caretaker, and they have like disappeared. And so there seems to be a trend going, and Una, the protagonist, she needs to like figure out what's going on, I guess, before she goes missing too. I don't know. I read the first chapter. It actually seemed pretty interesting, so I'm excited about it. I read a couple of chapters of Little Women today. So I'm going to pick back up on that and try to at least get into the 300s. And yeah, so I will check back in a bit. So I just got done with Little Women. I have been reading for the last 4.5 hours, minus a couple of little breaks here and there. And I'm officially exhausted now, and I don't know what to think about this book. Part of me absolutely hates it, and also part of me wants to cry and is in love with all of them. Not Lori. Lori is kind of the worst, but he's not one of the Little Women. He's the neighbor boy. There are parts of this book that I genuinely despise. Like I was forcing myself to finish this at the end. The last 50 pages, I had made up my mind that I wasn't even going to watch the movie. Like the first half of the book, I was in love, over the moon, and then the second half of the book happened where the girls actually grow up. So disappointing. So I'm gonna go to bed and just wake up and read something else tomorrow. Have a good night. I will see you in the morning for Saturday. Sir Clive. Clive. Did you appreciate Little Women? I guess not. Good morning and Merry Christmas Eve. So I tried to record my thoughts about Little Women last night because I finished it right before I went to sleep. Basically, it's so many mixed emotions around that book. There's things about it that I cannot stand. I think before I had talked about it, and whenever I got halfway to the halfway point after part 1, basically right before the girls turn into women, and it was fun to a certain point, but there's just large sections, pages and pages that are so tedious. And I think that it comes out a lot more in the second part, where lots of major life events are happening, some of it very sad, some of it very tragic, but we get maybe a sentence or two and these long descriptions of other scenes that I didn't feel that I needed a description for. I don't know how to explain what exactly is so disappointing about this book and the way that the writing is. I should have taken better notes, but I just kind of wanted to get through it. It's slow, and then something happens, and it's we're immediately on to the next thing. And then also some of the way that we transition in scenes or even in between scenes is just so haphazard. Someone will be literally talking quote dialogue, saying, okay, well, I'm going to go home now. And instead of taking us through that, we're just magically home now. And there were, I think on one page, there were 3 huge shifts in setting and space and time like that. And it was very jarring. So I know that there's a lot that could be said about the misogyny and the patriarchy in this book, and people can go back and forth on that. In and of itself, the writing I did not appreciate as much as I thought that I would. What I did like was the character development of at least 3 of the girls. One of the girls I think was, and should be, it's Beth. Beth was done dirty in this book, and maybe it was because of the lack of knowledge at the time that it was written, but part of me just wants, I want a reimagining, a retelling of this book in more of a modern day and age with the knowledge that we have now, and also with some of the progression that we've made. So I think it would be interesting. I love Jo, I love Marmee, even Amy is okay. And then Meg, once she got married, it's we barely heard about her. She wasn't even a part of it anymore. So I mean, obviously it's much in a way Joe's story, and I get that and I understand why, but I think the way that they did my girl Beth, I'm so upset by how little attention was actually paid to her as a human being. And then Lori can go to hell. I cannot stand Lori. Lori is the worst, or Teddy, however you want to call him, the neighbor boy. Straight to jail. That's my thoughts on Little Women. I'm going to try. Okay, so I'm going to read one chapter of Atomic Habits to get like my brain going this morning, and then I'm going to try and read a chapter of Hester. I could reasonably finish this today. It's not that long. It's just I don't know that I want to read it, and I have 4 other books over there that are calling to me. So anyways, any hoozles, I'm gonna get back to it and start reading for day 2. So if I didn't already say so, Merry Christmas Eve if you celebrate. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get back to reading. Okay, so I'm switching reading spots because this window is very sunny and I want to lay on this bed. But I made it to the halfway point of Hester, and I think I finally figured out why I don't love this book so far. The characters aren't particularly likable. They're not unlikable. They're so gray that I don't feel particularly invested in any of them. The only characters that I'm like really, oh, I like that guy, they're such sub-characters that I forget that they exist. Since so much of the story revolves around this woman and her beautiful embroidery, that's a lot of the action. And you can only write about embroidery in an interesting way so many times. I do think that the prose is absolutely gorgeous. I think that if you're a fan of Nathaniel Hawthorne, the Salem Witch Trials, embroidering like this would probably be wonderful for you. Or if you're someone who has synesthesia, then you might like this. I don't know. I don't have that, so I can't speak on its representation. But they're trying to weave in some things about race and, of course, slave trades and ownership at this time, and kind of the complexities of that. And it's through the eyes of the protagonist who came from, I said Ireland earlier, but Scotland. And she's so unaware, so ignorant of it, that it's kind of like, I think as a reader nowadays, looking back, it's hard to put yourself in that state of ignorance, so I'm trying to. But yeah, it's just the characters aren't super likable. But I don't hate them, I just kind of nothing them. So I'm halfway through now. There's about 150 pages left. So I'm just going to finish this today, be on with it. So I'll check back in later. Clive, are you just following me around the apartment while I read? Okay, so I'm re-recording this because I did not like the angle that I was at whenever I recorded it before. But I just finished Hester by Lori Lico Albanese. This is a historical fiction based on the main character from The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So it's basically like thinking, what if she could tell her own story? What might that look like? And so the reigning theory, I guess in academia, according to the author, is that a lot of Hawthorne's novels were somewhat autobiographical, and he published 5, I think, and The Scarlet Letter was the only one that they couldn't like pin to a specific event or time in his life. So the author of this book did a whole bunch of research, very well researched based on what she said in the back of the book, And this was enjoyable. Like I think I said, I give it 3 out of 5 stars. It was slow to build up. So I said before that I was at the halfway point and it was going so slow. Like I was forcing myself to trudge through it because the imagery was beautiful. The prose just, it flowed. It was silky, like the fabrics that our main character Isabel was working on. That was my attempt at clever wordplay. This is why I'm not a writer. Anyway, so, okay, about the book. It was slow. We didn't really get a whole lot of momentum going until about the last 100 pages. And then the other thing that I'll say is that I forgot how young the main character is until do I have toothpaste on my shirt? Gosh darn it. It's toothpaste. Anyway, I forgot how young she actually was, and so I was kind of like being really judgmental of her. And then toward the end of the book, she mentions that she's but nearly 20, and I'm like, oh shit, that's why you're making all these horrible decisions. Makes sense now. So I her innocence is more endearing, and her ignorance is more understandable. So it's okay. I was a bit judgy on that. It was because I had taken a while for me to like pick back up the book, but I'm glad I did. And I read it rather quickly. It's good. It ends interestingly. I was so much more interested in the last 50 pages than I was in the first 200. And also I feel like I don't super know what this book was I know what it was trying to do, but I don't know what it was trying to be, because there was just so much happening, so many different themes, a few different subplots, some random characters that would just like come back up at the end, and it's like, all right, I forgot about you, not just because it's been a couple weeks since I picked up the book, but also because we haven't seen you since like the first couple chapters. I don't know, it felt very rushed at the end, and I wish that the amount of attention and detail that was given to the first chunk of the book, with like really building out this beautiful vision of color that she sees in her everyday life with her special abilities, with her synesthesia. I wish that we had that with like any of the action, any of the events that happened at the end. It just kind of it all just happened right there in the last 50 pages. And I'm like, man, this is really interesting stuff. Can I see more? But unfortunately we don't have that, and that's that. So, I mean, and I mentioned this in my earlier recording of it, there is a lot of talk about slavery in this book as well, due to the time period and the location. And there's actually a subplot about freeing slaves and like slaves moving up north, but it's so hidden and it's like so masked at the beginning. Granted, Isabel, who is Hester, she like, that's not what her story is about, so I don't expect for it to be that, but I don't think that the author was disrespectful by any means in the way that she tackled the subject. I just think that it was odd for something so serious and so big to be a subplot. And that's all. I don't know what to do with that information. It's just how I feel about it. I'm going to go rest my eyes for a bit, put something on the TV, and then I will probably start reading Just Like the Other Girls, because it's going to get cold and dark, and I want something a little bit chilling, and that seems chilling. Hey there, so I've got some Christmas jazz playing on YouTube, on the TV, and I want to go through this and find what I should donate to the library. But okay, so The Silent Patient I read last month. It's okay, but I can donate it. I have no problem getting rid of that. Breathless I read earlier this year, and did not like it. I think I gave it a 2 or 3 out of 5. It was obviously a book of the month. It's okay. I feel like that's what I'm saying about everything nowadays. Keep that. Oh, this can go. I did not like this book. So this is Ellen Foster by Kay Gibbons. It's a novella. It's a tiny, tiny little book, 126 pages. It's about some sort of trauma. Like, you know how you have movies that are Oscar bait? This feels like Pulitzer bait. I hated this. This shall go. I'm going to add Hester to this stack as well. Let me go ahead and do that. But the books that I read in the last month, I'm not going to take these just yet because I do want to do a end of the year reading wrap up. I feel like, oh gosh. Okay, so obviously this I read for school because, I marked the shit out of this. This was like one of the first books that I had to read whenever I was doing my master's. So when this is annotated to death to the point where it like makes no sense. I don't know if I can, because I wrote a lot in this. So I don't know if I can give this to the library. I obviously need to pull out my little stickums. I'll figure out what to do with this. Maybe I'll put it in a free little library. Definitely keeping Voyage in the Dark. I need to read more Jean Rhys. Flowers for Algernon is an all-time favorite. I'm debating on donating this copy of Frankenstein. I didn't mark this one up that much. Actually I did. I highlighted in it quite a bit. I want to get like a nicer copy of it because I've reread this book a couple times now because it's Frankenstein. So I'll hold on to it for the moment until I get a better copy. Ethan Frome, The Revenant, Shakespeare, anything Shakespeare I'm keeping. This is my little stack of Madlit that I will never get rid of. And then I can include I wouldn't consider Flowers for Algernon Madlit, but it's like, this is my little medical humanities, just like stack that has my whole heart. I need to find more books in this genre that I can add. That's my favorite genre to read is medical humanities, Madlit, anything like that. So The Boy in the Striped Pajamas I'll keep, even though it makes me cry. This I can donate. Did I annotate in this? I highlighted in it. I'll give it to the little library. So this is Charles Brockden Brown's Edgar Huntley, which I also read for my undergrad. It's okay. Or Memoirs of a Sleepwalker. So it's okay. I will probably read it later. It was honestly kind of boring. But I forced myself to read it, and I did highlight it. I did highlight in it for school. So I don't know. I should ask the library if they'll take stuff that's been highlighted. Maybe as long as I didn't actually write in it. I don't know. The Vegetarian, Murder on the Orient, Of Mice and... Yeah, so the rest are like classics and stuff that I will not get rid of. But I think that's all that I'm going to add. Oh, I should donate this. I'm not going to be interested in this. So this was another Book of the Month Club read that I kind of immediately regretted. So I'll keep the bookmark though. It's You're Invited. And what month was this for? This was for July. And I think I got a chapter or 2 into it and was just like, this is ridiculous. And I have no interest in it. I got like 40 pages in and was just like, I'll put you away. So essentially this girl is invited to her ex-boyfriend's wedding, and he's getting married to like one of her old friends or something like that, and she goes, and then like in the first chapter the bride is dead. The main character is unhinged, and so I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't like it. What? I don't know what I read in the premise and the synopsis to make me choose this book, because I immediately read like the first couple chapters and was like, well, this is stupid. No offense to the author or anyone who likes it, but I can't suspend my disbelief that much. I'm not gonna force myself to read that. I will gladly donate it. So there is my stack of books that will be going to the library. I now have this nice open space on my red shelf that I can add new books to. Yay! Hello again, and merriest of Christmases if you celebrate. It is Sunday morning, Christmas morning, and husband is sleeping. He got home a couple hours ago, so I'm gonna try to keep it quiet. But last night I started reading Just Like the Other Girls, and I got 165 pages in. So this is what I read. This is what I have left. So I'm just gonna finish this real quick. And honest, the heat comes on every time I start recording. Honestly, if I would not have been so tired last night, I went to bed by like 9. If I wouldn't have been so tired last night, I would have read this in one sitting. It's different. It's very fast paced. It's very like, I keep thinking that I know who the mysterious figure is, but I don't. And if I didn't, I can't remember if I explained the premise of this book already, but it's a young woman. She's 22. Her mother just died. She had this really, really close relationship with her mother. That is important. Just got out of this really messy breakup, and she gets this job opportunity to go and be a caretaker for an elderly, affluent lady. But she finds out early on that the 2 previous caretakers, not only did they look a lot like, creepily a lot like her, but also are now dead. So she like gets pulled into helping to figure out what happened to the girls, not only for her own sake, but also for like one of the girls' brothers gets pulled into it. It's a really good job. The pay is really good, so she doesn't want to leave just because she's being paranoid, but she also doesn't want to die. Relatable. I'm going to continue reading this. Super cozy holiday read in front of my fake YouTube fireplace. Hi there. So it is now Sunday, Christmas afternoon, and I have finished Just Like the Other Girls. I give this a strong 3.5 out of 5. I have some pretty, they're like little nitpicky criticisms for this book. I'm going to save it for a larger review that I plan on doing. And the criticisms that I have, I want to be able to like talk through them a little bit more. They're not anything that would keep me from suggesting this to other people. It was 100% a great read. One of the things that I will say that really drove me to continue in this book, I think I've mentioned before, I'm a slut for good character development. And one of the things that they do in here is they take characters who could be very well hated, like 100%, like they do some horrible things, but we get to see so much of their lives, and this book really focuses on why, on motive, and not just behind the murders, but behind the actions of some of the shadier characters who you may even think are the murderers. But at the same time, every time, I don't know if you can hear it, but it distracts me nonetheless, the heat popping on. But it was really, really good. I haven't read a book in a long time where I'm like, shit, I genuinely care about all of these characters, even Anyway, I don't want to spoil anything. The twists were enjoyable. The ending was like, the ending in and of itself, as the ending as the whole, as a thing, made sense. I get it. That last chapter and like the last couple of pages, the author like threw some stuff in there and I'm like, why would you even do that? Like, now I'm confused again. Why would you do that? So I don't know if it's not a cliffhanger. I don't know how to describe it without giving it away, but it's more so just like, why? Now you're throwing things in here that didn't need to be in here. And I said I wasn't going to do a full review of this. I'll save more of my thoughts for the other video, but Just Like the Other Girls by Claire Douglas, I might check out some more of her stuff. I don't know. If I happen upon it, I will be intrigued. Putting that down, in the past 2.5-ish, or I guess 48 hours now, I have read for a cumulative of about 16 hours according to my timer, and I have a little bit of a headache. So, I mean, I do have chronic migraines and I've not been drinking nearly as much water as I should be because it is cold outside. I'm going to take a break from reading for a bit and maybe pick up tomorrow. Okay, I will try to check back in tomorrow. Bye. Side note, I'm supposed to be starting a no/low buy in 2023. That's part of the reason why I went to the library instead of just buying these books on Friday. But something about finishing a book just makes me want to go and buy all of the books. I'm having a really huge craving for book shopping right now, and I'm just putting everything that I want on hold at the library instead of even looking it up to see if I could buy it like quickly or used. I'm just putting it on hold at the library. So yeah, I'm like fighting that craving right now. Hi there. So I'm actually going to go ahead and film my outro for this video because I kind of ended up having a little bit of a headache last night. And then I haven't been feeling super great today. My husband and I opened up our Christmas presents this morning. This is what he got me. It's an Ubi. It has like cats all over it. It's so cute. I can't deal with it. It's so adorable. But I'm about to start editing this video, so I wanted to go ahead and do an outro. Thank you so much for watching. I got through 3 books, 2 of which I've been meaning to read for quite some time, and 1 is a new read for me, and I'm going to film a full review for it. So I think going forward, definitely dedicating some time during my weekend, like big chunks of time, will be good to help me reach my reading goals. But 4 days, 3.5 days is a bit too much. And also there's a lot of stuff that I needed to get done this weekend that I just didn't get done. Partially because it was a Christmas weekend and a lot of places were closed, but also just because I was so focused on my reading. So I didn't get some of my actual errands and chores done. I might need to clean the apartment a lot. There's a lot of laundry that needs to be done that I put off that I could have totally done laundry while I was reading. So that's a shite excuse. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. I'll put some suggestions for other videos if you would like to watch. And yeah, so have a great rest of your holiday season. I hope you're staying warm and safe, and just all the best to you and yours.